You're on mute, Emily, if you're talking.
I'm Emily Blank. I've been here since Moses was a boy, and my field is labor economics. My current area of interest is hate crimes and analyzing the increase in hate crimes lately, partly through an economic analysis.
All right, Yamini.
Hi, my name is Damini Mipagala. I have been with the university for almost, I think, more than 3 decades. And I teach econometrics classes. I know many of you have taken econometrics those days, and I don't teach those things, advanced classes anymore. Dr. Bagland teaches that. My research focus is basically in econometric methods.
All right, Kenrick.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Kenrick Hunt. I have a first name before that. I don't normally use it. And when I hear my first name, Cyril, I know it's people who don't know me personally, but I don't hold it against them. So I go as Kenrick, and there's a whole history by itself, but it's a different story for another time. I've been at Howard in the department since 1998. My area interest is development, natural resources, some of the things I'm more or less interested in at the current time. I enjoy teaching students, meeting new people, and of course, HUEDDA is a very important part of what I do at Howard, as we team up once a year to put on the ODE banquet, and I'm very grateful for all the support given by the department as well as with the HUEDDA team. Thank you very much.
Denise.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I am Dennis Bagland. I've been at Howard since 2010. I'm currently the director of undergraduate studies. My research is econometrics, in particular non-parametric econometrics and panel data. So thank you for organizing such a great event tonight.
Darrell.
Hello, everybody. I'm Darrell Daniels. I've been with Howard since 2013. I'm also the Associate Director of Undergraduate Studies, also the Faculty Advisor for the Abraham Harris Economic Society. Yeah, so I do work more on macroeconomics, and I do some work on student debt. That's some of the things that I do.
Bill.
I'm Bill Spriggs. I've been with the department since December of 2004 and worked hard with HUEDDA when I was the chair. And now I teach graduate students labor economics. And my current work focuses on the impact of trade on American workers and on workers in the high-tech sector. And thanks to some hard work that Eddie Gray did, we won a grant. We're going to be looking at a set of World War I veterans who are exceedingly highly skilled that never got to use their skills because of segregation. So we're going to look at labor market exclusion.
Ting Ting.
Thank you, Dr. Swinton. Hi, everyone. This is Ting Ting. I've been with the department since 2017. My research is mainly about international economics, about foreign direct investment and international trade.
And I think that's all the faculty who are on the call. I'm going to ask Gerald, since I'm on my phone, to type in the department website. We have many exciting things going on in the department. We have a new center that will be opening. We have a lot of grant money flowing in. We have the AEA summer program. We're working hard to improve the standings and the rank of the department. So feel free to keep track on the website with all the announcements that come out. And we do appreciate the hard work that HUEDDA does put in. We're the only department in the university that has an alumni association dedicated to the uplifting of their home department. And thank you, Hazel. I think this is amazing. We'll try to coordinate with all the events that are coming for the remainder of the year to make sure that we get much more participation from students throughout the year. Thank
Well,
you.
thank you. We appreciate that. And we appreciate having the faculty here with us because the faculty is a part of our life. You know, when we came through Howard, they were very instrumental in our development and growth. So, and now we're going to ask our alumni, STEAM alumni, to introduce themselves. They can share what they're doing if they are retired. Some of us are lucky enough to be retired. What did you used to do? And if you want to just share just a little bit of your thoughts about HUEDDA, it'd be okay. We don't want to make this a long program for that, but please, I guess the first person I see, and since in alphabetical order, is IG.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm Aji Fatu Jain. I'm currently an economist at the US Census Bureau, and I earned my MA and PhD from Howard Economics Department. It's great to see all my wonderful professors on today. I finished my PhD, my master's in 2012 and PhD in 2018, and joined HUEDDA ever since because I was really, really inspired by the great work that they're doing. And just knowing that they have graduated, so many of them have graduated, you know, a few years ago, but they still hang on and are still with us and ready to support us. So HUEDDA means a lot to me. I've been supported by HUEDDA to attend the AEA conference. I've also been able to earn, you know, travel award and registration fees to attend several conferences. So HUEDDA means a lot to me. And I'm happy to be here and be able to give back to students who are currently in the department and those that have graduated already. So thank you.
Okay. Next person I see is Chantal Smith.
Oh, hey, y'all. I didn't know I was going to be talking today.
What's up, homie?
Chantal Smith. I just graduated from Howard in April, and I'm currently working as an assistant professor at Washington and Lee University up here in the mountains in Virginia. And like Aji, I also benefited greatly from having HUEDDA around. I think most of the students there do, just the leadership they provide and the opportunities they present the students in many different facets, I think is one of the great things about it.
Okay. Thank you, Chantal. Next is Dr. Thorpe Charles.
Yes, I am Charles Thorpe, been a HUEDDA member from the beginning, and I love HUEDDA because I think it's a very excellent complement to the department in supporting the students. So that's my primary mission and passion. I am currently at the Federal Aviation Administration. I have the prime responsibility of preparing the capital investment plan for the facilities and equipment budget for the agency, which is included in the president's budget submission each year. So this is a recent project for me last year or so. And I've done a variety of things here at the FAA and at other federal agencies such as the US Census Bureau, Health and Human Services Department, and did some work in the private sector, the Urban Institute, and so on. So I've been around and I love HUEDDA. Yeah, go HUEDDA.
Thank you, Charles. Next is Betty. Elizabeth Scott. I know she's on.
Hello.
Okay.
I worked at the Department of Energy collecting crude oil prices and publishing them, and I recently retired. I've enjoyed participating in many of the events that HUEDDA has sponsored because it really helps you to stay in touch with Howard as well as what's going on in the economics community. So it's been a worthwhile, it is very useful.
Thank you, Betty. Next is Gwinnell Bass.
Hello, everybody. I'm Gwinnell Bass. And I worked at Congressional Research Service as a specialist in industrial organization in corporate finance. I was blessed to retire in 2006. So I'm a grandmother. I'm happy. And I did teach at Howard Economics Department as well as the School of Education. And oh, can I tell Hazel? I remember Dr. Chandler's retirement. I got to talk about my nice fellow Morehouse brother, but I was at the table with Hazel and them, and Hazel was really enthusiastic about us getting together and keeping the bond. So that's where HUEDDA came from.
And yes, we have kept the bond. Thank you, Gwinnell. Next is James Kiawu.
Yes, good evening, everyone. So I graduated from the PhD program in 2010 and the master's.
Oh, I remember him. He's my grad assistant once.
Go ahead, James.
I think he's frozen for a minute.
Oh, is he?
He's frozen.
I think probably should go someone else and come back.
Okay, Jan, you're next.
Oh, hi, everyone. I'm Jan Christopher. I have been teaching at Delaware State University, which is about 100 miles away, for the last 27 years. And it was my first job out of school. And I tell everyone the story that they had called Howard University to get someone to apply for a job in their College of Business. And I wasn't recommended, but I was told that there was a job there. And I was so mad that I wasn't recommended that I applied for the job. And I've been here 27 years. And this was nothing that I had ever imagined. But I finished my PhD in 1993 in urban economics under Dr. Green. And then Dr. Betsy and Dr. Mapagala were my advisors. So even today, like for the last 18 months, I had been off, I hadn't been teaching, but I started teaching again in August. And I'm teaching statistics, advanced statistics. I teach quantitative methods, and I teach managerial economics. And so I've been doing all of this, even though it's another HBCU, a public HBCU, but I got all of my training from Howard and everything I know. So I really appreciate all that Howard has done for me. Now, in reference to HUEDDA, I'm not a founding member of HUEDDA, but I am an early member of HUEDDA. And so I really love the friendship and the bonds that I have received by being a member. And so I want to thank Hazel for everything she's done for the organization and for the department. And so I'll just rest here and thank you so much for everything, Hazel, and all of the other founding members.
Thank you, Jan. Next is Joanne Rowe.
Good evening. I don't have my camera on. I just had major surgery. I'm getting to that age that they're starting to replace body parts. So I started my career very early at Howard University. I remember my very first research associate position, assistant position, was at the World Bank. I went away to Tanzania, and I might have stayed if it wasn't for Dr. Houchins, but Dr. Houchins talked to me and suggested that I come back. And when, that level of personal caring is, I believe, what made me who I am today. When I came back, he also helped me to get into interviews. I was one of the 3 people that was accepted in the DIR program, the DIR program in Massachusetts. It was myself, Kenny Gaskin, and Clyde Ashley. Clyde and Kenny stayed, and I came back to finish the PhD. After that, like I said, my career was very diverse. I went to work for corporate at IBM. I worked for the government, for both defense and non-defense. And then I found my way to my love in the academy as an academic administrator. I have served as a chief academic officer, provost at two different schools. I have served as a president of one institution, but the job or the career path that I really have bonded with is around the deanship in schools of business. I have served as dean at two institutions for about 10 years. And I really do accredit a lot of it to the faculty at Howard. The faculty at Howard believed in me before I could believe in myself. And I just think that what I strive to give back to the students, I am the dean of the School of Business at Medgar Evers College. I have been so for the last 7 years. I strive to give back to my students what was given to me. Thanks.
Oh, thanks, Joanne. What a wonderful testimony. Yes, the faculty definitely have played an important role in our lives and our development. So yes, I remember Dr. Green, and I just want to say quickly that, you know, we have done several retirements of our professors. And I remember Dr. Green he said, this is the time when the students come back and just let us know how much we appreciate it and love. And we don't have to wait till retirements. We can tell them tonight. Okay, next person is Linda Jones.
Good evening, everyone. So I am class of 79. That's when I completed my academic studies, but I didn't pay till 1980. So I'm officially the class of 80, but now it's, you know, academically it's 79. But I have to tell you that my undergrad in economics really empowered me, because my first job was a job that was earmarked for an engineer. I was a project manager for avionics and get it together, too much wine. Project manager for avionics systems at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, right? And I was dealt with R&D and logistics and so forth. And then after that, I went to California and I was a cost analyst for satellite systems. And the mathematics, the statistical analysis and so forth, that really helped me in both of those jobs. So I really appreciated that. I left the Air Force when I made a joke. They wanted me to move to Alaska. And I made a joke to the person who was recruiting me. I said, I thought this job would be for evaluating fuel consumption. And he said, it is. I said, oh. So I left the Air Force at that time. And so I took a position at Howard University. I started off in facilities management. And then I became a special assistant very fast, executive assistant for a VP for administration. And then I was special assistant to a vice president and a provost and then a president. And then I was working in research and development with associate provost. After that, a dean from College of Arts and Sciences recruited me to be over student affairs. I did that for 11 years. I started a nonprofit certificate program for undergraduate students, and all of my students are doing really well in the nonprofit sector. And then I was recruited for the graduate school. And I have to tell you, I've only applied for one job at Howard University. Every other job I had at Howard University, someone knocked on my door and told me to join their team. So I attribute that to my economics degree. And that's all I have to say. And thank you, Hazel.
That was quite a bit. As you can tell, Dr. Jones is a good source to know, a good person to know at Howard University. She's my one-stop person. Okay, I got to go back to Kwame Crawford. I see you got your bachelor's in 2020.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Hey, it's a pleasure to be here. Nice to meet all of you. I just recently graduated from Howard, and most of my work has been in defense for the last 7 years in the DC area while I was a student. And I'm actually taking some time away from defense to prepare to apply to law school this year and continue my interest in international affairs. I'm excited, and I'm excited to be here. I didn't know about this society. This is the first I've ever heard of it. So it's really, really good to be here.
Great. We're happy to have you here too. Okay, Marilyn Carson.
Did I unmute everybody? Hello, good evening.
We can hear you.
Okay, and congratulations to HUEDDA on making it all the way to 20. I, as my little thing says, BA 76, so I'm going way back. Although I received my BA at Howard in 76, I majored in, of course, economics and minored in business. I did not actually join HUEDDA until the late 90s when I returned back to DC after grad school. After left for a bit, took a stint, and left the economic, quote, economics types of jobs. But before going to graduate school, I did spend some time, which helped me to get into grad school and go on and do a stint in capital markets. I spent time as an economic statistician at the Department of Commerce, and that was from interviewing with people that came to Howard's campus and who were interviewing econ majors. So that was the first step. And after spending some time in the business department at Department of Commerce as an economic statistician, I decided that I rather do more business than, quote, economics types of jobs. I went back for an MBA. So it does transfer to several other things and kind of somewhat end up back in government eventually, unintentionally. But when I came back after getting a master's degree, MBA at Penn, Wharton, and working in the capital markets for a bit, ended up back in the mortgage markets at Fannie for a while, and then spent some time at the FDIC. So if you really can say I had some very great experience, which I enjoyed, loved a lot, was new territory for a lot of minorities, particularly minority women, or you could say I just couldn't keep a job, take your pick. But all of them, each one and each challenge that seemed really bad always happened to somehow lead to another opportunity that was even better than before, and I couldn't have planned it if I had tried. So Howard on that resume served me well. All the recent graduates, and particularly for those who've gone on for graduate degrees, please know that. I know I didn't know we were going to go through, say, your backgrounds. I know one thing Hazel asked us or had suggested is that we say, what does HUEDDA mean to us? And so I moved back to DC after all of those stints in the private sector. I think I ran into Hazel, our president Hazel, at a Howard homecoming event in the 90s. And she hit me up to get some tickets for something else, of course, at HUEDDA was that. And from then it was continued love affair with HUEDDA, because I was very impressed. It made me feel back at home in DC, but also at Howard, very proud of being a part of a group that was very, I think someone else said it wasn't just the business side, but the friendship side, but everyone was the comrademanship and the commitment to making Howard a premier institution of higher education and academic excellence. I know that HUEDDA has been very instrumental in that, and President Hazel has been tireless in that, as you all know. During the time when I was in the federal government, I did serve time in the senior executive service for several years, which I think is still underrepresented with minorities, particularly those in the, they tend to still put us in either the, quote, personnel, which is nothing wrong with that, but not necessarily the final decision makings that make the decisions that affect economic impact and other employment. And I had to get to that point because one thing that was very helpful when I was going through a tough time as a senior executive service and in the senior executive service and federal government was I ran into Dr. Spriggs, and he made a comment at an event at Howard, again, Hazel had arranged, when he was the Assistant Secretary for Labor during the Obama administration. And I always thought he should have been secretary, no offense to that secretary, but you know, that's the one thing he did acknowledge in that meeting was, and very few people knew this because they think, oh, it's federal government, it's minorities, et cetera, is how tough it is for minorities to get into the, quote, senior executive service in the federal government, which was started by Carter back in the early days. And it took a while to, quote, build the resume, to build the experience that they claimed as always needed to do that. And then, but trust me, it was even tougher to hold it once you got there because everybody came at you with the knives. So I'll never forget that one evening, it had been a tough day. Dr. Spriggs said that probably didn't even think about what he was saying, but he said, you know, I want to introduce those in the meeting that are in senior executive service, and that is a tough area for us to enter. So great to see you, Dr. Spriggs, great to see everybody else. And I do just want to say another congratulations to this group that keeps Howard on the list of academic excellence.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Hazel, may I interrupt? We only have about 7 minutes left. Can I allow Ambassador Hall to go next?
Yes, please.
Thank you very much, colleagues. I'm delighted to be here, Hazel. Thanks, congratulations again for making this event happen. Of course, I work very closely with my dear spouse, Sandra. I think I might follow all that's going on with HUEDDA, although I'm not really directly involved quite often. I graduated the first of the PhDs, and the experiences at Howard University have really served me well. I'm very, very proud of being the very first PhD from Howard University in the Department of Economics, and I wear that title with pride. Currently, I serve as an ambassador for St. Kitts and Nevis, and we deal quite often with the development issues. And of course, although many of the persons who are trained there, you know, really are not deeply involved in economics, I bring to bear some of the experiences that I've had. At the OS, there are 34 member states in the Western Hemisphere, starting all the way from Argentina and Brazil in the South. And of course, it includes both the US and Canada. And I'm responsible for looking at the economic developments in all of those countries and dealing with the voluminous mail that comes in. So I stay very busy with that. Prior to that, of course, I had an opportunity for serving at the Congressional Research Service as head of money and banking. And from there, I wrote an interesting article which caught the attention of the White House, and I was appointed as the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Policy and Research. Over the years, I've been very much involved with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. I did my PhD dissertation on Fannie Mae, and I found myself in one of the most recent jobs evaluating executive compensation for all of the government-sponsored enterprises, namely Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and the 12 federal home loan banks. That experience is invaluable, and I would certainly hope that our students would seek the opportunity for really trying to get a sense as to how compensation is structured in the US. Because, you know, I think it's very, very important, even though it's not directly addressed in the classroom. I think there's a lot that we can learn from simply looking at the Securities and Exchange filings on executive compensation to learn essentially how folks in the US, in fact, actually earn a living. Thank you very, very much. Delighted to be here.
Okay, can I go next? Since I'm
yes.
Okay, I'm Sandra Hall. I graduated from the PhD program in 1996. I'm a founding member, and I've served on pretty much all the committees. I remember the day that we were at the luncheon, the retirement luncheon, and we were lamenting that all the great professors were retiring, and that's how we got started. I've spent most of my career at the Department of Commerce, or maybe 35 years downtown, doing economic research or policy advisement. And I'm currently at the US Census Bureau. HUEDDA, I enjoy being a member of HUEDDA. I really appreciate how its influence has grown over time. It was very difficult in the beginning to get the faculty and the students to realize that we were a resource. But now it's great to see how much we appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to the next 20 years.
Thank you, Sandra. Next, we have Patricia Smith, our treasurer.
For short on time, Patricia Smith, master's 1980. I've been the treasurer since Moses was a teenager. It's been a while. But anyway, I just retired from the U.S. Department of Energy, International Electricity and Petroleum Data for 42 years. So I'm done. So I'm proud to be a HUEDDA member, HUEDDA's family in every aspect of the way. So thank you all.
Okay, we have to go back to James Kiawu.
Yes, sorry, I got disconnected. I don't know what happened, but So I did my PhD in 2010, and I'm currently at the DOL with the Office of Workers' Compensation Programs. And, you know, I'm really thankful to HUEDDA, you know, the mentorship, the friendship. I remember when I just graduated, there were people like Dr. Cook Hall, Sandra, and Ms. Doris. They were very, very helpful, like to guide me into the job market. And HUEDDA is a place like where you feel like home, where you can always find people ready to help you. And I'm really thankful for that. Before DOL, I also worked at the Department of Commerce, the National Institute of Standard and Technology, NIST, which is here in Gaithersburg. And I also worked at the USDA. And my first job actually in the federal government was at the DOJ. I also got recruited on campus, one of those interviews, and I got my first job there at the Department of Justice, Antitrust Department. And so that's how I got into the federal government. And I consider myself as a, you know, serial adjunct. Every once in a while, I come back to teach at Howard, to give back. But I'm really, really thankful for what HUEDDA has accomplished, not only to me, but also to some of my colleagues who are not here. And I believe that, you know, maybe 5 or 10 years or 20 years from now, you know, the impact will be huge. Thank you, HUEDDA. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for what you are doing.
Thank you, James. Have I missed anyone?
You missed Maru.
Maru? Okay. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Maru Etta, PhD 19, was that 2007?
Yes, good evening, everybody. Maru Etta, and I graduated 2007, and I went right across the street at the School of Business, not across the street, right across the campus, in the School of Business. Thanks, Jan, for inviting me. This is my first time here, and I don't believe that I've been missing all this great work. So I am on board now. So I teach in the School of Business, managerial econ. I'm there with Dr. Lindsay, who has just been great in mentoring me when I got there. So I teach managerial econ, I teach global business economics, and I also teach at the executive level, applied economics. Research is in international economics, exchange rate and foreign exchange reserve issues, working with the one and only Dr. Hunt. We have a series of papers we're working on. Thank you, Dr. Hunt. We'll continue to collaborate. So thank you so much, everybody. I see some of my classmates there. I think I see one person, Sham. So thank you, HUEDDA.
No, thank you. So we're going to move into our next part of the program. I know it's 3 people who hasn't introduced themselves. That's myself, Yoloma, and
I'm here to
Dr. Cham.
Cham. Okay, Adji is going to introduce us.
Yes, you all are part of the special crew.
Okay, I'm gonna pin us so we can always be present. Okay, go ahead. It's on you now, Adji.
Awesome. Okay. Well, good evening. I wanted to also mention that, you know, it was so great hearing the research that everyone has been involved in, or, you know, their trajectory with their career. It's been motivational to hear all of that. I'm currently, you know, a research economist, so with the US Census Bureau, and my main research interests are in housing, but I'm currently working on research related to the evolution of of businesses for minorities. And I'm also doing some work with the American Community Survey, where we're using administrative data to mitigate low response rates. So without further ado, we're gonna get started with our panel. I'm very excited to moderate this panel. I think we're gonna be very excited to listen in on our distinguished alumni, to hear about their career trajectories, and also just to learn what an economics degree has done for them throughout their career paths, and also what, you know, the department, how the department has been instrumental to them in their career paths. So I'm just going to start by introducing them, and then we can get the conversation started. We'll also allocate some time for Q&A at the end. So if you have those burning questions, please jot them down and we'll let you all chime in at the end. I'll start by introducing Dr. Tamsir Cham. Dr. Cham is advisor to the executive director at the International Monetary Fund, where he leads several IMF country disbursements. He has vast experience in public service, including the Gambia Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs as the head of the Macroeconomic Directorate, where he monitored the fiscal developments of the country. Dr. Cham served as an economist for the International Monetary Fund as well, and where he covered the real sector of the economy. He also participated in IMF Article 4 consultation missions and prepared background analytical notes on exchange rate assessments and financial sector issues and liquidity stress testing. He was a senior research economist at the Islamic Development Bank as a research economist, where he conducted economic research for ISDB member countries. He also participated in developing Islamic finance country report for Indonesia, Kazakhstan, and Djibouti. He also developed liquidity stress testing template for the Central Bank of Sudan. He was recently awarded an Edward Mason Fellowship at the Harvard Kennedy School, where he taught international development, economics, and public policy. Dr. Cham received his BA in economics and math from St. Mary's University in Canada. His MA in computer science and his PhD in economics, both from Howard University. And he has obtained several certificates from Harvard University, including management, leadership, and decision sciences, as well as public policy and public financial management. So very, very distinguished alumni. I'm so excited to be moderating this great panel. Next, we have Ms. Uloma Chiakpo. Ms. Uloma Chiakpo is a native of upstate New York, born to Nigerian immigrants. She is an intelligence officer for the Department of Defense, and more specifically, an imagery analyst for the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, NGA. The NGA is a U.S. intelligence agency that does intelligence, provide U.S. intelligence and combat support agency that provides policymakers, warfighters, intelligence professionals, and first responders key information and insights. In her current position, Ms. Uloma Chiakpo analyzes the activities and interests of countries, regions, and non-state entities, as well as the impact of natural and man-made disasters. Her focus, her area or region of focus is Asia Pacific. She has been with NGA since 2014 and has served as budget analyst before coming into a current position. And prior to joining NGA, she worked as a data entry analyst for China, Africa, China Research Network, and the Economic Analysis Research Network as a research intern. She obtained her BA in economics from Howard University in 2012 and was initially a pre-pharmacy major, then switched to economics. So we will be hearing about why that switch. We're excited that she did that. And last but not least, I have Miss Hazel Robinson. Hazel is a native of Plant City, Florida, currently works as the Chief of Staff, Maryland Aviation Administration, which operates the Baltimore-Washington International Thurgood Marshall Airport, BWI. There she is in charge of operating the airport in a safe, efficient, and profitable manner. Hazel is also the chair of the Council of Committees, runs the Employee Recognition Program, and is the MDOT loaned executive for the Maryland Charity Campaign. Hazel received both her BA 1979, MA 1986 in economics from Howard University with honors. Great. While a student at Howard, she was member of the Abram Harris Society and the president of the Graduate Student Economic Association. So GSA has been going on for a while now. Hazel has served over 30 years for the federal government as a senior economist for the Food Safety and Inspection Service an economist for the Federal Aviation Administration, and international trade analyst for the U.S. International Trade Commission, working both at the FAA and FSIS. Hazel has authored over 60 cost-benefit analyses that have been published in the Code of Federal Regulations. In 1979, Hazel was commissioned as an officer in the United States Army Reserves, where she served 27 years and retired at the rank of Lieutenant Colonel. Hazel is a veteran of the global war on terrorism, serving nearly 1 year in Kuwait. Awesome. Hazel is a very active member of the Alumni Association, as we can see. She's one of the founding members of the sitting president and the sitting president of the HUEDDA. And under her leadership, HUEDDA established several programs, especially a mentorship program, and has endorsed a scholarship and loan fund for graduate and undergraduate economics students attending Howard University. Hazel was awarded the 2007 HUEDDA Distinguished Alumni Award and the 2008 College of Arts and Sciences Alumni Service Award. Hazel is also treasurer of the NEA, National Economics Association, and has been there for nearly 10 years. So as we can see, we have such a great panel today. And so I just wanted to open it up by sort of just having a conversation and just to know, and anyone, well, we can start anywhere. So whoever wants to go first, fine. But how did you decide on an economics major? If you do remember. So we'll start with Aloma.
Hey everyone. Okay, I think you guys can hear me. Let me know if you can't. So for me, I actually started off as a pre-pharmacy major. My parents are Nigerian immigrants to this country. And so from a very young age, I was told that you're pretty much either going to be a lawyer, an engineer, a surgeon, if you really want to make your parents happy. So I came into pre-pharmacy. And, you know, I finally hit organic chemistry, and I realized that as much time as I was putting in, I was only interested in pre-pharmacy because A, it's what I was told to do. I was told it was a secure, financially secure job opportunity. And I wasn't interested in innovating or adding value to that area. And so after a rough semester with organic chemistry, where I was congratulated by my professor for getting the lowest C in the class, and that I should not proceed to organic chemistry 2, you know, I took a break and I broke my dad's heart, and I stepped into an English multidisciplinary course titled China and Africa, and that completely changed my life. And just seeing how economics is not just, it's not sciences to me, it's a human story. Like all those numbers are people's and their livelihoods and their quality of life. And I really became very interested in US and China relations, how Chinese corporations and the PRC, how they're engaging in business in multiple different African countries. Are they enabling democracies? Are they enabling maybe poor government infrastructure? So I've just kind of seen economics as a way of life. And so, yeah, I just caught that bug and just kept going. So, yep.
Well, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I decided on my major. First, my major was English and my minor was economics. And I switched them because I felt that there was more opportunity, job opportunity majoring in economics. And I definitely wanted to have a degree that was going to pay for itself and pay for me down the road. And my first introduction was taking a Econ 1 course, and our teacher, you know, just a room full of freshmen, and he just pulled out a dollar bill and he said, "This is what economics is about." And I remember that, and I said, "This is the course for me. This is my major."
Dr. Chow?
Thank you very much. Actually, I was a science student. I was in the science class, high school throughout. But like after when we took the O levels to go to the sixth form, that's where everything changes, because this high school that continued to do sixth form in sciences was in another city that you have to travel a long distance. So my uncle advised me to stay in the city because it's going to, that time I'm from a relatively low background. So due to transportation issues, they advised me to stay in the city where I was. Unfortunately for us that time, we were the first batch to start sixth form in that school. So I switched, instead of taking the sciences, physics, chemistry, biology, and maths, I end up taking economics, maths, and statistics. So I did very well in statistics and math. And because of that, I decided to do economics and maths as undergrad. But when I came to Howard, because of my strength in math, I went to do computer science. When I finished the degree in computer science, I felt that, you know what, I love economics more. So let me just climb the hill. I left the School of Engineering, and I remember meeting James and Dr. Keogh and others. So that's how I end up doing economics as a PhD. And during my PhD time, which some of my professors were here, because of the computer science background, I was assigned in the computer lab to help students get the software, particularly eViews and all the other things. But during, when I was trying to decide on a topic to write on, I consulted with colleagues. James was here, but I decided to write something on Africa because of currency union, you know, a single currency that the West African countries wanted to adopt. Unfortunately for me that time, Dr. Sprigg was the chair of the department. He hooked me up with the Director General of WAMI, and everything just went smoothly. So I was able to finish my degree on time, and thank God, I thank through the leadership also of Dr. Sprigg, and then I have to be grateful to HUEDDA for giving me the opportunity to have that travel award to attend the AEA in Chicago. So with that, I think that's where the journey starts to be an economist. Thank you.
That's wonderful. I love how you tied it into what HUEDDA means to you. I forgot that you all haven't done that. So let's go with Hazel to just talk about what HUEDDA means to you, and then we'll go to Uloma, and then we'll continue on with our discussion.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a real easy question for me. I was almost like the love of my life. I mean, I just love the department. I just love what Howard University means to me. Sometimes when life don't go well and you in the dumps, I could just go on campus and walk the grounds and remember my dreams of my youth, and I get my strength back. I could go to the ASB room, number 2 building, go upstairs and remember my journey, you know. And so having HUEDDA keeps me always connected to the beginning. It's when we grew up and became who we are. And so it's only fitting and right for us to give back and do better by the generations after us, because they can benefit from our experiences and our knowledge. And the truth is, we just love them. I just love Howard University and the department and HUEDDA.
Mm-hmm. Well, we love you too, Hazel. Uloma.
Yeah, so for me, my first introduction to HUEDDA was working in the Abram Harris Economic Society as an undergrad. And so HUEDDA was really supportive of us and encouraging, and, you know, just the mentorship, and even just when, you know, I took an internship in DC with the Washington Center, and, you know, just coming to figure out how to pay for that. And it was one of the HUEDDA members who, you know, paid $300 so I could, you know, take the train every day to my internship. And so, you know, just having that that level of support so early on in your career, it makes a difference. And so I definitely want to be part of that chain of events and building that family.
Wonderful, wonderful. Oloma, I'm going to continue with you before I move on to Dr. Cham and Hazel about this question, because you received your BA and then you went on to start work right away. Can you tell us how much the economics degree has contributed to your career as an intelligence personnel?
Yeah, so, you know, economics taught me to really look at incentives, you know, that people and actions don't happen in a vacuum. And so especially when working in intelligence, you constantly have to look at what inputs are going into a problem set, and what you constantly have to look at who are the players. You constantly have to look at how does this relate to US national security. And for me, my economics degree just really taught me that you have to be comfortable looking through different lenses and perspectives. You have to be comfortable and careful and methodical about combining different data sets and really seeing what does the story now look like once you combine these data sets. I think my economics degree at Howard just taught me grit. You know, there were opportunities there. You know, and if you got to know your professors, if you went to the office hours, if you interacted with the graduate students, there are just all these hidden nuggets in Washington, DC, even just through the consortium. And it was actually through the Howard economics department that I was actually able to get into the, I think it's called ICCAE, but pretty much Congress gives HBCUs a grant to create these intelligence community learning centers. And so when I was a student, Howard actually had an intelligence community learning center. And so I enrolled in that program. And so you learn the importance of, okay, it's great to have language skills. You can add that into your analysis. It's great to know how to use statistical packages and GIS software, add that to your skills. It's good to understand, you know, the regional histories and cultures and peoples. And so really being able to use, see those, so to combine all that data and to really be able to tell the story objectively and coherently. And, you know, just being at Howard, you meet different professors and alumni from different backgrounds that teach you that challenge your perspective of the world. And not to mention, I got the opportunity to study abroad in China, and do economics. Thank you, Dr. Mipagala, for approving my application for that. And so again, that just really fed into my understanding. So yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Dr. Cham. Same question, same perspective.
Thank you. I think economics helped me to make a choice, and whatever choice I made, I try to maximize the opportunities that is given to me. I recall when I just graduated, I worked briefly in the US, and I went home just on a holiday, and then someone approached me, a brother of mine approached me when he was at the World Bank, that it's better to come and help the Minister of Finance. And then I interact with them, talk to the personnel management office, they invite me over. And I came back here after a couple of months, I just packed my stuff and then go back. When I went back, it was it was not easy. The adjustments was not easy, even though I grew up, I came from that place, but I have to adjust. And I recall receiving $100 per month was very small. I would just give that money to my mom and then move on. But what I wanted to say is it was an opportunity, and I have to explore that opportunity to the maximum. So I think I was the only PhD actually at that time at the Ministry of Finance. And it was not easy. Everything was just dumped onto me. But my first job as I entered the Ministry of Finance was to write something related to speech on during the independence anniversary. And like typically people leave the office at 4 or 5 o'clock. But I have an assignment and I have to stay and then make sure that I don't fail the people that trusted me. So I use that opportunity. And when the IMF actually comes to the country, I was part of I was the lead in terms of linking them to the ministry and the central bank. So it was through that opportunity that the IMF actually recruited me from the Ministry of Finance. Again, it was difficult choice, but I have to talk to the guy and then I seek advice. And then luckily, in fact, I was within the government, within the country. So the local office at the ministry, at the IMF office. So while I was there, an opportunity also came up at the Islamic Development Bank. I needed a change. I wanted something different, to look at something that probably is out of my comfort zone. I went to the Islamic Development Bank that is in Saudi Arabia, and I was there for about 4 or 5 years. Then from there, I went to Harvard and then came back to the International Monetary Fund. So in short, when opportunities come on your way, maximize them to the fullest and then see where it takes you to the next level. Thank you.
And Ms. Hazel, thank you. That was great. Given your background in the federal government at many different agencies, what would you say? I mean, switching, I was trying to look at your bio and read all of these agencies, and I'm like, oh my God, how did she go from FAA to food security to, it was, wow. And now.
But what happened was, for my first job, my first government job, U.S. International Trade Commission, I really found it through Howard University. In fact, really all of my jobs. So what happened, I got a phone call from Dr. Vincent R. McDonald, who said, he knew I was looking for work. And he said, well, there's a job offer at the career office. I need you to go down to the career office and check it out. And I did, and I talked to the counselor, and she said to apply for this job, apply for this job. So I went and applied for the job and everything, interviewed and everything, and I got hired. But what happened once I got hired, I found out the person who hired me actually had attended Howard University. He didn't graduate, but he moved on to Morgan State. So that was a Howard connection too. And so that Howard University on your resume really opened doors. So when I went to the USDA, and it was for a promotion, most time when I moved was for a promotion, and interviewing, got the job. And then once I got to the job, the guy I worked for got his PhD at Howard. So he didn't interview me. He had his own interview team to interview me. And then even in the military, the Howard University opened doors for me. Once I got my commission as a second lieutenant, I went to what they call Officer Basic course. It was at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. And there were Howard graduates there. Our professor of military science, who was at Howard, he was stationed there. And so they really helped me out in terms of the classes. And so the Howard, the degree and the fact that I went to Howard University, and the fact that people really, not people, but the public, the general public expect a lot out of Howard graduates. And when you own these jobs and work assignments, it seems like they give you the hardest test, the hardest assignment, so you can prove yourself. So even though Howard University on your resume opened doors, you actually had to have something behind it once you got there. So Howard taught us, they really taught us how to persevere, how to be strong, and to work against all odds. That's what Howard really taught us, to be tough. And we definitely, in this job market, you have to be tough.
That's right. That's right. That is certainly true. And that is a great segue into my next question, which is about diversity. Dr. Cham, you're a PhD economist doing research at IMF, and we know that right now there's a big issue with the lack of diversity in the economics field. So one question that I have is that, what is the #1 way we can make a substantial difference in this matter? Like, how can we increase diversity in our field? Because this is a huge issue right now.
Thank you. I think diversity will continue to exist, particularly if you come from the HBCU schools. But as the previous speaker just said, you have to prove yourself. When they're asking for 10, maybe you go for 20 or 30. I think you just have to you just have to prove yourself. You have to go beyond what they are asking for. So they will test you, and then once you pass the test, that's the time. Then they will see that the issue of diversity need to be resolved. I mean, in the workplace, even at the fund, is something that is a music to everyone's ear right now, that they need to, diversity is an issue at the IMF. It is. But as I said, you have to improve, you have to prove yourself. You have to go beyond what they are asking for.
And Hazel, do you have anything to add to that? Because I have some things to add, but I'll let you go first.
No, I don't have too much. I agree with him. I just think that, you know, when we get into these senior levels, positions of leadership, I think we have a obligation to try to find people who look like us, who got the skill sets. And even if they don't have the skill set, one thing my first boss told me, he said, it don't matter, I'll send you to school. So, you know, to the training. So, and that's what we need to do. We need to recruit our students, give them the opportunity, groom them and train them, and also teach them the stuff like the office politics, you know, and who to talk to, who to get to know, and also who to avoid.
Paloma, do you have anything to add? How can we improve diversity, increase diversity in this field?
So I know when I look around in the office, I don't see as many people who look like me. And so, you know, if I had known that the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, a 3-letter intelligence agency, was located in Springfield, Virginia, and offered paid internships all year round for master's, PhD, and bachelor's, even if you're in the process and you don't have those degrees yet, I would have jumped on that. So wink, wink, nga.mil, check it out. I think the way because I know, especially with the last administration, as I would walk through DOD, I would look at the walls where it would have president, vice president, director of national intelligence, all these key positions where people are making decisions that affect not just the workforce, but people's lives. And I would look on that wall and not see people who looked like me. And this current administration, we now have the Secretary of Defense, who's African-American. We now have the first female Director of National Intelligence. And now we have the Principal Deputy Director of National Intelligence, who is a Black woman. And so being able to look at those walls, knowing that those decision makers are not just bringing their expertise, but their lived experiences to those closed meetings where they're making those decisions that affect our lives. It's very, I don't know, it makes you appreciate where you're at, but also figure out how can I open the doors more. And part of that is having, you know, building on what HUEDA does, you know, having programs like this, connecting alumni with current students, with just the opportunities that are there. Because again, if I had known NGA was here, I would have applied and been trying to work for them as a student.
Yeah, I'll just like to add that my pathway into the federal government as an economist came from Sandra, who just happened to share that her office, the Office of the Chief Economist at Commerce, was looking for a pathways intern. And I knew that I had the background that they were looking for. They were looking for someone who could do research and as well as mapping. And I was already mapping in my urban classes with Dr. Kerbin. So I felt, okay, I have the criteria in order to go and take on the work. And now being at CES, which is the sort of the think tank group in census, I've realized how much we need to do to, to increase diversity of the, of economists that are graduating from the PhD program and becoming researchers or going into, or teaching, when they go out there, because it's very important. And when you don't find as many people looking like you, it's very hard to be comfortable enough to, to really project yourself and do the best that you can. It gets a little scary. And so I think increasing diversity overall would be great for all of us. And I applaud Fanta Traore and her colleague who started the Sadie Collective. Hopefully we can invite them or one of them to come talk about what they're doing to diversify or increase diversity in this field, because we are in need of that. So thank you for chiming in regarding that. Aloma, I just wanted to go back to you. Is there something specific that you felt like learning at Howard Econ, has been sort of like the most instrumental thing? Like something you can think about, like something that's been very useful that you've learned while at Howard. It could be in your classes or it can be outside of classes, but something that you've learned that you felt like has been such an instrument in your development, since you've left Howard.
Honestly, it kind of harkens back to what our president Hazel said. Howard just taught me to be strong, and it was part of the reason why I came to Howard in the first place, because I wasn't comfortable in my own skin. I didn't understand how I fit into the world. I felt like the world was telling me something about myself that didn't quite add up. And then, when you read certain literatures, there's this idea that you can't be African and African American, and kind of being able to reconcile those two identities. I was able to do that at Howard. Having professors who believed in me and actually mentored me. I think it's just, I know I keep saying it, but just Howard taught me grit. It taught me that, when the door is closed, you find a window. It taught me that, you get in there and you weaponize that elevator speech. You come in and you own the room, you bring the presence, you bring the thunder, you make people remember you. And if you want the position, you have to believe in yourself before you can encourage others to believe in you and give you responsibility. And I couldn't have gotten that if I had been at another economics department or been at another campus. And I think learning how to kind of negotiate those realities, especially in the heart of the nation's capital that has just such a diverse culture and flavor, you really learn to be tough. You really learn to be discerning, but you also learn to really identify opportunities, and you don't wait for people to give them to you. You seize them, you take it, and you make it work.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I just wanted to ask I'll start with Dr. Cham. What would be sort of like the number one advice that you would give, since we're like now almost nearing our time, but just wanted to know, like, if you had any advice that you would give to someone who's currently an economics student, someone who's thinking about economics, or, someone who's already graduated and trying to build a career in economics, what would be sort of that one advice? It could be a series of advice, but.
I think number one advice is to take your classes seriously, because I am benefiting from almost all the classes I took at Howard, macro, micro, econometrics. So I'm still using those things. So you have to make best use of those classes. Dr. Hunt and others, I took classes with all of them. And I'm still using those notes. Sometimes I reflect on those notes. I think you have to take your classes seriously, and your fellow classmates too. Continue to bond with your classmates, because you don't know it all. Sometimes, James was my classmate, and I'm still in touch with him. So,
awesome.
Yeah. So if you get stuck, some point you get stuck, and then you reach out to your classmates. So never, like, when you graduate, don't just leave your classmates. Be in touch with your classmates. Take your classes seriously. Thank you. Wonderful,
wonderful advice. And Hazel, I'm going to ask you this because you've been like I said, your federal government career has been, I mean, I'm like, oh my God, I want to be like you. What do you think would be, besides sort of like this pathways internship, what would be, you know, I guess like, what other pathways would you like to see for people of color who are, you know, trying to enter the government and, or, you know, who are trying to pursue an economics degree? What other pathways would you, you know, like to see to increase diversity?
Well, I think exposing our students to the possibilities, doing field trips to different federal agency, because they don't know what they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to introduce them to the possible careers that you can possibly have. And so I think that's what we could do. HUEDDA could do more of that. I know a couple of times we have had career days. I mean, Dr. Thorpe, they had, and Dr. Gwen Flowers, they had the students there. They had the big FAA forecast conference. We had career days at USDA. That type of exposure helps our students tremendously because they know the possibility. And also, you know, I'm gonna toot our horn, the National Economic Association, the ASSA conference, that's the big economist powwow every January. Oh, I wish I had the opportunity when I was undergrad to go.
Right.
So I could know what a degree can do, and just seeing the people interviewing, you know, and recruiting, that's exposure. And then you go to the different sessions and you meet new people. That's what we want. We just want to open doors for our students.
And I know thank you, Hazel, that was amazing. I know because you spoke about the NEA, so I'm sure Dr. Swinton has some words to say about increasing diversity. So Dr. Swinton, feel free to chime in.
So I'm back on, hopefully you can hear me.
Yes.
One of the things that I think is important is that people cannot underestimate the effect that Howard University itself and our economics department has on increasing the diversity of representation of PhD economists, master's economists. You know, this past year alone, we graduated 4 Black female PhD economists, right? And, you know, the best way to support diversity is to support the Department of Economics and help us in our way and help us get our word out and help us attract students who might look at Howard as not the place to go because of what other people tell them or what other people think, but realize the accomplished people that we have coming from our department and the doors that are open to you and the support that you have. I think the summer program coming to Howard is going to be a great thing, and that we're going to be able to get even more students coming into the university. We have been able to secure a lot more funding for our graduate students through grants and other type of support. And we just need people to come to Howard and come to the economics department and understand that the change that will occur will occur first through Howard, because this is what Howard does and this is what we believe. And other departments don't necessarily have that built into what they do. And so that makes us different from other programs in economics.
Amazing. You know, this is great. And I just wanted to make a plug that actually one of my colleagues at CES was telling me that you were one of her professors at the AEA meeting, AEA summer program, Michaela Dillon. So it's wonderful to see people that look like us, you know, in these, you know, organizations, and it's rewarding. So thank you for all you all are doing to, you know, attract people to the department and also putting ourselves out there. Thank you. And so that concludes, well, actually, no, I'll open it up for questions.
There is one question in the chat.
Oh, okay. Awesome. So yeah, this is a good time to, and if that person wants to, you know, come on and ask their question, it is totally fine. And if you want us to read it, that's okay too. But since this is a conversation, you are more than welcome to come on and ask your question. Isabel?
Hello everyone. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, hi everyone. I appreciate all the time that I appreciate you guys coming to taking off time to come and speak to us about economics. I was just wondering, you know, the future is technology, and what do you think, what does that future look like for people who are doing economics?
Anyone want to take that? Dr. Chong?
So I can just, granted, I only have a bachelor's and, you know, I aspire to have a PhD like many of you someday. But I have noticed at work, you know, there's definitely, people are definitely interested in economic security, food insecurity, but there is, I think they're looking for people and professionals who are savvy, not just able to speak to the numbers, but you know, can use SAS, can use data, can use SPSS, can use GIS softwares, and really be able to visualize these different data sets and combine them and still tie them to the economic story, but also tie them to the quality of life and the human capital and the human cost of whatever the problem set is. So those data skills, that data savvy, even programming, really just being able to, if you can just become a savant with lots of those software packages, and being able to really understand data, because we can mislead people when we don't, like we can pretty much get data to say what we want it to say, but the idea is to really be able to look at the data in context and share with policymakers, like, hey, when you make this policy, this is the human cost. This is what this public policy looks like in action. This is the outcome. And so I just highly encourage you all to really get those quantitative skills, really get those business skills, that business acumen, because not a lot of people have that. And it just moves your resume higher into the pack.
Right.
So Aji, if I could say something.
Sure.
So we have been working towards offering more quantitative-based classes to our undergraduates. We have a class that's taught jointly with the Federal Reserve Board that Gerald just put in the chat that allows students to learn how to program in R. Yep. We now recently have gotten permission from the university to offer some of our master's level classes as BA level classes. And so if you're at Howard, just be on the lookout for a wider variety of electives which have a quantitative base to them. The quantitative skills are becoming even more important in economics. And so, you know, it's something, even if you're just a master's student, a bachelor, being able to run a regression and interpret the results and understand how to talk about that data is something that is extremely important. And we're working diligently in our curriculum committee to make sure that we're giving the students the necessary skills they have to be successful in whatever jobs that they're interested in having.
That's awesome. That's wonderful. I was going to say that improve data science skills too, because it seems like, you know, just knowing the theory is not enough anymore in economics. So, you know, quant. Okay, do we have any other question? We're actually, we ran out, you know, we went over time, but I think this is great. So if we have any question, I'm sure Sandra will let us steal some the rest of the time.
I don't see no more questions.
If we don't have any more questions, I'd like to thank our panel. I think this was wonderful, and I'm looking forward to doing more of these because I think this has been really good, and it's always good to learn how people's career paths have changed or, you know, evolved, and just this has been wonderful. I mean, it's really it's been I'll say empowering for me, and I feel very energized, and I'm even more happier that I chose economics, and that I'm currently doing research that I feel like is going to be bettering my community. So I'm very, very excited and happy, and this charge is great. So thank you for the panel, and round of applause. Thank you, Dr. Chom, Hazel, and Uloma. Thank you for volunteering to do this. It was great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now I pass it on to, I think, Linda.
I'm going to keep this short and sweet. We're economists and we have budding economists, and we talk about fundraising, and we think of raffle tickets and bake sales and so forth. But as economists, that's not the way to raise money. We have to look at something that looks like residual income. So I have something that's so easy for you all to do, and it's selling popcorn. But all you have to do is direct someone to, and I just put it in the chat, Double Good, download the app, enter the event code, and you can either set up your own pop-up store and tell your cousins, your aunts, your uncles, your friends, and so forth to buy popcorn from HUEDDA. Or you can buy from us. We get 50% of the proceeds, no matter what you do. As long as someone's buying popcorn, we're going to get 50% of that, and it's sent to our checking account. That's residual income. That's like having a rental place and you're just sitting there and collecting the money. We can't beat a better fundraiser than this. So I'm hoping everyone would join us. Download the app, enter the event code XDRLZA in there, and then you can either buy or set up your pop-up store. I'm looking forward to seeing more people in the pop-up store. Right now, it's just me, Hazel, and Sandra Cook, Dr. Sandra Cook Home. So let's move forward and let's sell. By the way, the Deltas raised $50,000 doing this. This is serious business. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Linda. Also, I hope that you have, enjoyed the insights from tonight's discussions. Please join us next month on the 28th of October for our second installment of our anniversary seminar series. The title is The Impact and Relevance of HBCUs, and it's featuring a virtual fireside chat between the Dean of the Howard University Graduate School, I believe Dana Williams, and Dr. Julianne Malveaux. And so that also will be virtual, and we'll be sharing those details in the forthcoming weeks. And with that, I'm going to pass the baton over to Dr. Thorpe for closing remarks.
I think this has been a very interesting and informative kickoff to our 20th year HUEDDA celebration. I think I really enjoyed it. And I think you guys have too. I just want to make sure that we want to thank all the participants who made this possible. And also want to give a special thanks to the committee that sponsored this project. You have Dr. Linda Jones, Dr. Jan Christopher, Yoloma, and I think that's the committee that we had. Did I miss? Oh, and Aggie. Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Aggie. Oh, how could I miss you? So these committees they've worked very hard in putting this together, which has been an extreme success. And as Yoloma mentioned, we have another program planned for next month. There's also another one for November, December, January, February, all the way through July. Hopefully, then we can meet in person and have a grand celebration at a HUEDDA banquet. So I want to thank you again for coming and participating and staying around to the end. So thank you and have a great night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for staying on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
everyone. All the faculty.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, students.
Bye.
Great
Thank
job.
you.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Thank you to my family who joined in.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night.
Night, night.
Night, night.
Jump.
I'm gonna end the meeting now.
Charles, spread your grands.
They already left. They left. So I had to wave and bye-bye. Good to see Patricia, retiree. Man.
Yes.
You didn't tell me. When is the party?
It's up to you.
I am teetering on the idea, but COVID, teleworking made it a little more difficult. I say, hey, I'm retired in place. All right, good to see you guys. We catch up soon.
All right. Okay, good night.
Take care.